Here we are once again. It is a Friday night. Somewhere out there, some people want to talk about astronomy, and those people are us. And I hope that y'all are some of those people as well. We are the Astronomical Society of Southeast Texas. We are a club based out of Beaumont, Texas, a nonprofit group of amateur astronomers. And so that's what we're going to do tonight. We're going to hang out because, COVID is a thing. Or I guess, can I start saying was a thing now? I don't know. Is it okay to start doing that? I mean, the CDC might be saying that. Eddie's got his mask just in case Joe sneezes on him next to him over there. See, Joe's not reaching into Eddie's cubicle. See, we've already given up social distancing, but Joe's got his mask. But it's good to see everybody. I hope y'all are having an awesome beginning of the summer. I know it's a little wet out there. It's a little floody here in Southeast Texas. If you're into floods, you're in for a good time because the roads are pretty flooded. We have Adam Corville in the house, member of our club, with us tonight. There he is. Hey guys, good to see you, Adam. We're gonna do an astronomy meeting. We've got some cool stuff to talk about. There's a lot of things happening. I guess, as you guys know, we're finally moving out of this whole thing, and people are vaccinated. I know I'm vaccinated. I think most of these dudes below me are. I think I made them sign a waiver that they were vaccinated before they could come into the room here. You know, we got to be as careful as we can be. Of course, it's a joke. We can start laughing about this now, right? Is that also a thing? I guess we can start joking about it. Dusty Haskins in the room with us. What's up, Dusty? Lori Sell, good member of ours, longtime member of Asset. There
she Lori.
Mr. Lloyd Overcash, a member of the Houston Astronomical Society and a fantastic astrophotographer, hanging out with us. Good to see you, Lloyd. Mr. George Lutch in the house. Good to see y'all. And before we get to any club business, we got to introduce the faces of the room, as it were. And making his Asset debut on our live streams, Mr. Carl Dunn. There he is. Mr. Carl Dunn is a member of our club. He's also very active at the Johnson Space Center. Carl, why don't you tell us what you've been doing and what you're doing now?
Sure. So I joined the Astronomy Club last year. It was my quarantine hobby, and happy to be a part of the club and expanding my hobby. I've been working at Space Center Houston for a few years in the education department, and most recently took another job. But I'm going to give an update on what's going on with NASA a little bit later, and yeah, that's what I like to do, is just keep updated on NASA history and what's currently happening in space exploration.
Yes, sir. And that's what we all like to do, I guess. I guess that's why we're here, right? We all share a common interest in astronomy, and NASA kind of does astronomy, right? It's little creatures that live on the side of a planet launching themselves into orbit around a planet. So I think that qualifies. I don't know. Maybe I'm stretching it there. But next on my list right here, we have Mr. Eddie Trevino. Now, Eddie is our club treasurer, so he keeps the funds and makes sure nobody's getting a little spendy over there. So how you doing, Eddie?
Hey. How you doing, everyone? It's good to be here tonight. Will, thanks for having us.
Good to see you again. I mean, me and Eddie just got done hanging out in the dark deserts of West Texas, doing some astronomy for the first time in which was awesome. And we actually got some really good nights while we were out there.
We had some excellent weather.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a second. But another person that was out there with us and experiencing the nighttime skies, Mr. Joe Califf, at the Astro Joe, if you're on social media. And Joe is the current president of the Houston Astronomical Society, our sister club, if you will, over in, Houston, right? And you guys are, y'all have a few members now. You're up to a couple dozen members, right?
A couple dozen. I think we're doing okay with the members. No, actually, last I checked, before we had our membership roll over in March, we were at 860 something members. So a lot of people in the club, a lot of volunteers helping make things happen. It's a wonderful place to be. But this is my first time joining you as a member of Asset. So I'm also a member of Asset as well. Excited about that.
Yeah, all the panel members are club members, which is amazing.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah. And it's always good to have everybody in the chat room. If you're in the chat room, throw down where you're watching us from. Again, most of us are in Southeast Texas. We got a couple guys in Houston area. Eddie's in the central Texas area, and I'm all the way in the bottom right-hand corner of Texas. That is a place. You can actually look that up on a map. It's the bottom right-hand corner. But that's where our club is based, in the Beaumont, Texas area. If you want to join, it doesn't matter where you are geographically, as we've all proven. You can be a member of the Astronomical Society wherever you're at, which is the coolest thing. All you got to do is talk to Mr. Eddie Trevino down here, wherever he is down there. And or you can talk to me, and we'll get you in the right hands. You know, I feel like the Brady Bunch over here.
Yeah, and a good way to contact any of us is through our webpage. There's a contact page, and it's got emails that will get to me and emails that will get to Will. And if you have questions, just send them there.
Yeah, well, we'd love to hear from you. Our friend Renee, down there in Crystal Beach, Texas. I don't know where that is. Maybe it's on the beach. I think it's on the beach. Corin, good to see you all the way from the UK. See, this is one good thing about having the meetings online, is we can broadcast to an international audience. Virginia is in the house, and then Renee, yeah, there she is. Canada. Rachel's in Canada watching a little old astronomy club in Beaumont, Texas. That's amazing. Thank you, Rachel, for hanging out with us. We appreciate you. California, and then all the way from Groves, just like 6 inches that direction right over here. Good friend of mine from my hometown. And we got a lot of stuff to talk about, y'all. So we should probably get into it. There's some cool stuff happening. Again, there's some light at the end of this tunnel. No matter who you are or what you think about the whole pandemic or whatever, there is light at the end of the tunnel. Again, I'm vaccinated, so I'm feeling a little adventurous, a little more here and there, which feels like almost like a vacation, right? You're kind of getting out and doing some of the things you couldn't do for a while, or shouldn't have done anyway. And so we're gonna talk about some new events, or some events coming up. There's some exciting stuff for the club that Carl's going to reveal for us here in a little while. I'm going to make y'all sit through about an hour and a half worth of math lecture, though, to get to that cool stuff.
There's always a cost.
There's always, you always have to pay up front. But no, Carl's got some cool news about the club that we're going to be announcing here in a bit. So we'll just get to some club business, get it out of the way. And of course, we are the Astronomical Society of Southeast Texas. You can see it there. What I want to do is get you guys in the chat room talking about maybe what you've been observing. I know for a lot of us down here in Southeast Texas, we've been observing the cloud nebula, the rain cluster, whatever you want to call it. It's been pretty bad here. So there hasn't even been a whole lot of moon stuff going on lately. But if you guys have been out there observing, drop it in the chat. Please let me know. And then as we go through this next segment, I'll put you guys' comments up there. See, George got his microchip, so that's all you could ever ask for. And then we have a friend in Australia watching. Wow, look at that. That's awesome. And Ohio is in the house. But yeah, if y'all have observing a report, please let us know what you're up and looking at. I know the moon is out now. We're heading towards full. But most of us deep sky people, we don't really care about the moon. But the moon is pretty cool. But drop down those. Any of you guys on the panel, y'all been doing an observing? I mean, besides El Dorado, I guess we'll talk about that in a second, or X-Bar Ranch, I should say. But
we got a little observing. Yep. Nice,
Carl. What you been looking at?
I'm just working on my lunar observation certificate. So it's trying to get them all the phases, and then 100. Is it up to 100 landmarks, right?
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's taken a while, but we're getting there.
Awesome. Keep going, man. It's Lunar 1, right? The Astronomical League Award. Okay, great. Awesome. I think, Eddie, you hold a Lunar 1 certificate, don't you?
I do. It took a few months, Carl, because you have to contend with the weather. Yep. You have to contend with there's some things that they ask you to see that are right at the new moon, and then right at the oldest moon. And you have to coordinate that with when the moon is new, and then count back hours to make sure that the moon's in the sky at the right time for you.
Yeah.
You got to do some things within 36 hours of new moon. And those proved to be the hardest ones for me because, like I said, you had to coordinate. The timing doesn't always help.
Yeah, and you got to wait for clear skies. I mean,
Yeah.
a very narrow window. If you don't get it like tonight, the moon is too old, young, whichever way it's going, right? So, so it's a very good award. I'm glad you're doing that, Carl. Joe, you have a couple, or do you have any?
No, the last time I was actually out observing was with you and Eddie over at the X-Bar Ranch. So it's kind of a bummer because, as you guys remember, I didn't have some of the equipment I needed for my new telescope to kind of drive it. Sent that off, and as soon as I got that equipment back, it seems like the bad weather just seemed to strike us here. So waiting for those clear skies.
It's your fault.
Yeah, it's my fault. I apologize, everybody in Southeast Texas. But yeah, no, I'm just waiting for these clouds to clear so that, I mean, I'll take the moon at this point. I don't care. So anything we can get to observe is what I'll take at this point.
Hey, the moon in a 25-inch obsession, it's nothing to laugh at. So I'm just saying that resolution really does play. You know, people are like, well, you don't need a big old light bucket for the moon. Well, if you want amazing resolution, yeah, you kind of do.
Makes a little bit of a difference. Yeah. It's
like watching in 720 versus, 8K ultra high def wide vision or something. I don't know what they're saying these days. But anyway, yeah, so we've been out observing, and what I'll do here is I'll go to some of that here in a second. But what I wanted to put up real quick is some of these amazing shots of a video set that this guy Joe. If you go to Okie-Tex, everybody knows Joe. He's always walking around filming the star party and stuff, and he's been doing this for a lot longer than any of us realize. I mean, these pictures are from the 90s Texas star parties. And I usually put up a funny picture at the beginning of our meetings, but this one to me is funny in an astronomical, like, nerd way. There's so much going on in this image that needs to be explained or talked about, because nobody's talking about anything that's happening here. But it's truly astounding what is happening here. I'm assuming that's like an 18-inch telescope. Right, guys? I mean, it's probably in the half-meter area anyway.
Yeah.
You can see up front here, there is a focuser, but that it's empty. And the guy is sitting in a lawn chair back here looking into a refractive telescope that is inside what I assume to be a prism, shoot to what's called a tertiary mirror. This is something you see in like a extremely expensive, high-end, like observatory grade telescope. But this was going on at Texas Star Party back in the 90s. It's astounding. And also the disc on the front, right? He's lowering his aperture to get more focal length, right? So he's got a refractor and a Dob with 3 mirrors, not just 2, like a normal Dob. And well, maybe even more if you count that prism, right? The prism at the tertiary spot right there at Altaz. I don't know, man. What do y'all think? I think this guy's a time traveler, and he went back.
Yeah, he's got to be doing some kind of offset collimation. And there's no way that tertiary mirror is in the middle of that optical stream. It would just be too big of an obstruction. He's got to be bending light to the edge there.
Yeah, it was as big as a secondary, right? I mean, because he's definitely got a secondary in there. I think I can't zoom in, but if you zoom in, you can see, and it's kind of like a spherical, like it's shooting the image down straight in back at the main mirror instead of off to the angled like our Dobsonians. Truly a wonder of nature. This telescope is. I don't know. All I have is questions now, and I was hoping that y'all could.
This is, goes to show what we do as amateur astronomers, right? So if you ever went to a car show, you have people who have their Mustangs, the Corvettes, and everything else, and then there's that one person with a Ferrari or Lamborghini. This guy just showed up with the Ducati, right? It's it's a Ducati
with a Lamborghini somehow inside it.
Exactly, right? So as an astronomy geek, you see something like that and say, wow, who's that guy?
Yeah. I just need to know more.
It's interesting what he did. I mean, he had a big telescope. That's, like you said, it's an 18 or something. And he made some modifications to it. And no doubt it was very expensive to do. He could have just bought another telescope. But he decided to modify this one the way that he did.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. And so if you guys are out there and y'all have any information on this fella or this telescope. I would love to know more. We'll do a follow-up if I ever find any more info on this. I mean, we couldn't possibly even cover this in an hour, like what's going on in this image, but it's just, it's fantastic. And these at Starfought, you see down there at the bottom on YouTube, if you just go to YouTube and type in Starfought, like Star Photo without the O, you'll find him. And he's got vids for years on these things. A lot of them are photo montages. And in one of them, there was a picture. This is Joe's setup, I guess, back in the day when he first did this kind of this mobile, quickly assemblable, observatory. But I noticed something in this picture, and I don't know if some of y'all may notice it. So what I'll do here is I'll enhance the photo. I'll enhance. We'll do it one more time. Enhance. I don't know. It looks like that banner.
Oh, that is awesome.
And unfortunately, it was taking at an inopportune time. Maybe this photo could have been timed a little differently. I don't know who that is. Those gentlemen are that are setting up the asset tent.
It's a daytime moon.
Apparently it's a new or full moon, depending on how you look at it. But that was funny, and I was watching Joe's videos, and I was like, hold on a second, was that an asset banner back there? And sure enough, and maybe it meant something else. I don't know, but I'm assuming that this is members of the Beaumont Astronomical Society at Texas Star Party back in the 90s. So just a little tidbit I thought I'd throw out there. I thought it was kind of funny.
Cool.
Yeah, you never know what you're going to find in these videos. So I definitely suggest that y'all watch it. But about a week ago, Joe, our friend Bram Wiseman, Eddie Trevino here, we all stepped out to the deep West Texas deserts. I guess you can't even really call it a desert anymore. There's grass out there.
Right.
The wilderness of West Texas. That is the X-Bar Ranch, and you can kind of see all of our setups there. We went out there for multiple days of dark skies around new moon, when sort of the time period where the Texas Star Party would have taken place. So we kind of had our own little Texas Star Party, I guess you could say, out there. It was a really chill event. There was only like a few of us, maybe a couple of other people there from varying parts of Texas, actually, that just, were there randomly, not joining us or anything. Our friend Tom Weidman was there. Many of y'all know Tom Weidman. And we had a good week, man. Joe, that silver thing is Joe's 25-inch obsession. Just behind that, occulting Eddie's setup is Eddie Trevino's setup just back behind there. That's a total eclipse of the Eddie. And, and then our buddy,
I'm sorry,
a 25-inch will eclipse most other setups, in general. To the right there, you can see our friend Bram Wiseman's tent, where he just has this amazing astronomy laboratory, is what I call it. There's no other way. It's a clean room in there. You can do scientific experiments in that thing, and everything would be perfect.
His telescope is actually probably in that tent. That he was rolling it in there every night.
Every night, yeah, absolutely.
That's where it hides, and then at night it comes out, ready to do its business. Whereas Joe and I and like Eddie, we typically leave our telescopes out. We cover them with these massive coverings, right? Yeah, of course, to keep the sun off of it, dew, dust, vermin. You never know. So we just basically went out there and hung out, and we had some great skies, man. I mean, I think we had maybe one bum night the whole time we were out there. The rest of it was very observable, and we got to see some really cool stuff. I don't know, highlight of the trip, Joe? I don't know.
The highlight of these trips is always hanging out with everybody else, right? You can do astronomy in a lot of different places. You can find lots of dark skies, but just getting a chance to hang out with other folks and look through their eyepieces. Will, at some point you broke out your night vision eyepiece, and we'd moved that thing around to the various telescopes, and just getting a chance to look at Centaurus A, right, the hamburger. After Eddie suggested it, he's like, hey, take a look here. Or, Omega Centauri, that's always on my list anytime we're out this time of year. But yeah, that to me was it. Just hanging out with you guys and using your night vision to really just capture some things that were amazing in that night vision eyepiece.
Yeah, and thanks to the Metter family, man, for always come out there and crash their stuff and hang out in their lodge. And Eddie was working on lots of awards. Eddie, weren't you?
I was focusing on the Caldwells. I lost count, and I was getting like 12 and 13, 14 a night, and we had 3 nights of great seeing, and I actually finished my Caldwell list. So I just got to put it together and format it and send it to you, Will.
Awesome. And I will inspect it very thoroughly and
Yeah, Eddie was the most serious observer of all of us out there, I think, this time around, right?
Yeah,
so Eddie was just focused on the mission, and Bram too. Yeah,
Bram was getting into it. Yeah.
Well, Will and I were just messing around and
yeah,
not taking it too seriously.
Yeah.
Well, after I started observing, I had to be serious because I wasn't going to say this, but I forgot a part of my telescope, and so I was not able to observe the first few nights. And it wasn't until my lovely wife drove and we met in the middle, and she handed off what I needed, and she went back home, and I came back to the X-Bar Ranch, put my telescope together, and then I had good skies. Yeah, but that was an embarrassing moment.
Hey, sometimes, I mean, it's happened to the best of us, right? There's been other members of Asset that have forgotten their trust poles that went to Okie-Tex, which is like 800 some odd miles,
Yeah.
So it happens. It definitely happens. Miss Sharon Rigsby's in the house. There she is. She's like, "Yay, Eddie! I think she's congratulating you for finishing your Caldwell. It's a big accomplishment."
Yeah.
And Bill and Mary Dixon in the house. Good to see y'all as well. Glad to have y'all as always. Okay, so let's keep rolling here. We'll get through all the boring stuff now, which is club dues. If you do want to become a member, we would love to have you. These are just some of the perks that you'll get being a member of our club. Again, if you want to talk to myself or Eddie about this, we can definitely get you working through that, and we can prorate you as well if it's your first year. So if you join right now, it's like what, $15 or $18, whatever it is. I don't know what the math is.
$17.50.
It's very close. There we go.
I just did the math.
Eddie's the equations popping above his head.
That's what the treasurer does, right?
That's right. He treasures, and we treasure Eddie as a treasurer. We really he's very good. But that's just some of the club perks that you can get if you are a member of our club. We do still have the Amazon Smile thing going, smile.amazon.com. If you do shop on Amazon and you want to help support our club, you can support us using the Amazon Smile program. Just make sure it says, like down here, supporting Astronomical Society of Southeast Texas, like right there. You can search us by the EIN or Astronomical Society of Southeast Texas. And anytime you buy anything on Amazon, that 0.5% comes out of Jeff Bezos's pocket, not yours. So we'll take your free Jeff Bezos money anytime you want to give it to us. Thank you, Jeff Bezos, and thank you all for shopping on Amazon.
So we're defunding Blue Origin to pay for Asset, right?
Exactly. It all works out.
I'm quite sure it's a big tax write-off for him. I just want to point out that 0.5%, it's not a lot from each individual. I mean, if you spend $100, it's a nickel to us. Mm-hmm. But a lot of people doing it adds up, and we get about, I don't know, $70, $75 a quarter. So we appreciate it, guys.
Absolutely. And so, yeah, it helps us pay for people like Carl, our guest speaker tonight, to come all the way from Houston. So we paid him a lot to be here, folks. Okay, treasurer report. And Eddie is a treasurer. And not a whole lot to report, though, Eddie, right? It's just a few little things.
Yeah, since we're doing these online meetings, I really don't want to get into how much money we have in our bank account. Our bank account's healthy. Let me just say that. We haven't had much activity since about the middle of last month is when the last few people have joined. I will say that we have, at the moment, 36 member families, which is nice. We like having them closer to 40 or 50, but 36 is well appreciated for this time when we're not meeting face-to-face. I mean, it's all online, so thanks, guys. Thanks for supporting us.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, if you want to join the club, get with Eddie, get with myself, and we'll make that happen. And 36 members, it's no 860, but we also don't have as much traffic over here, so
Hey, I will say, as somebody who joined recently, the process was super simple. So like you said, I reached out to Eddie. filled out a few bits of information, and paid them my fees and dues, and that was it. So if you haven't done it yet, it takes solid, 5 minutes, Eddie?
The hardest part is the blood sample. I
That
think.
was it, yeah.
Yeah, and the DNA analysis. So
Yeah, that is very expensive.
No, it's a simple process. We ask for your mailing address and some other contact information just so that we can keep in touch with you and let you know when we're having things like this meeting.
Yeah, we like to send out a mailer, like in Vegas or Family Vacation.
Yeah,
I've never seen that movie. It makes no sense. We'll just keep moving. Outreach requests. We've had a bunch of those, guys. I'm sure, as y'all can imagine, my office has been flooded with requests. Now it's just been a few emails, but there has been some people reaching out to us for outreach. I wanted to put this out there just as a quick, flag, plant it over there and say, hey, look at that flag, to say that, as we come out of this pandemic, the demand for outreach is going to be very high, and we're going to need, all hands on deck, as it were, if we're going to do these events, especially at the Beaumont Children's Museum. We always have a big crowd there. The Port Neches Public Library was ridiculous. The line at my telescope, I should have put a picture up, and I didn't. I just thought about it, but it was ridiculous. Martin Dies is always, it's a dark sky star party for the public, which is a special treat there. I was showing people a supernova in M82 back in like 2012 or whenever that one occurred. I was showing the public that. I was like, you see that star? They're like, yeah. I'm like, that's an exploding star. It's pretty cool. But that's a cool place to do stuff. And then Shangri-La has been in contact in the not too distant past. So just putting the word out there that outreach may start coming our way. It'll take all of us to make it work. Corin says, sign me up, either for membership or outreach. We'd take you, Corin. We can use all the help we can get. Oh, there she is. Renee says, hit me up. Well, we know Renee has helped with us with outreach in the past. Stuff like Kids Fest, which is really awesome. And there's Wendy. Hi from Houston, HAS members, Thomas and Wendy. Good to have y'all.
Hey, Wendy.
And glad y'all. They just came over here because Joe's here.
No. I had no idea I was going to be on tonight.
That's right. It was just a pleasant surprise.
Hey, I will say this, if you don't mind, Will.
Please.
I ran the outreach program for the Houston Astronomical Society for 4 years, and I will say that outreach brought me into astronomy probably more than anything else, and it's one of the most rewarding things you can do. As an amateur astronomer, you learn a lot when you're doing outreach. You get a chance to interact and engage with the public, which is always awesome. But what I tell people who are looking at getting into it for the first time, maybe hesitant, it's not that hard. It's super simple. If you can point your telescope at the moon or something else that's big and bright up there, you can do outreach. And the nice thing is, I know it's this way with HAS. I know it's this way with ASSET as well. There are people there that are going to help you. So, if Will's out there or Eddie doing some of these outreach events, hey, just say, hey, what should I point my telescope at? And they'll help you out. You look something up about that object. And when you're talking to the public, you can tell them, hey, this is this particular object. It's this far away from the Earth and so on and so forth. But there's nothing, to me at least, more fulfilling and more enjoyable than sharing the night sky with the public. Having somebody look through your telescope and say, ooh or ah, the first time they see the rings of Saturn or Jupiter, whatever it may be. It's just the most incredible feeling out there. So if you get a chance, take Will up on the offer, join him at one of these events. You won't regret it.
That's right. Yeah. Saturn is really the showstopper.
It is.
Talking about that with a friend of mine earlier. Like, once you see Saturn, even as an adult, it's over. Sell your Ferrari. You're going to need a 25-inch session and Joe has it. So that's the bug for outreach, guys. I will be emailing the club very soon about those kinds of things as we come out of the pandemic, and as we start having in-person club meetings again too, which is something we'll be talking about over the next month or two, depending on the situation. So it'd be really nice to get back into in-person meetings again, for sure. Speaking of not in person this year, we had to cancel the Texas Star Party, as most of y'all know, and it would have been May 2nd through the 9th. But what's cool is what's coming up, and Joe and I are going to play a pivotal hand in that. And then I got this little thing that I'll run real quick, and let's see how it goes. So there it is. There will be a Texas Star Party this year, just online. It's going to be a 3-night event. There he is. There, Joe's wearing it. What is that? 2016?
2016, yeah.
Old school. Oh,
that is. Yes, I had to represent the 2016 class. So
this is a banner that Joe made, actually, and you can see all the stuff that we're gonna. It's a lot of stuff we're gonna pack into 3 days, y'all. There's gonna be a live Star Party, as you can see, on June 10th. There, June 11th and 12th will be awesome guest speakers. David Levy's going to be there. Stephen J. O'Mara, a longtime Sky and Telescope magazine and Astronomy magazine contributor. The guy is a beast when it comes to astronomy. Carl Gebhardt, really awesome scientist out at the McDonald Observatory, doing actual real astronomy, not what we amateurs do, where we're just like, oh, look at this galaxy, you know. Larry Mitchell, who does what we do, not to you know, whatever, but we all observational astronomers anyway, so that's the way it goes. But Larry is the top tier of the observational astronomer, and he always does an advanced observing list every year at TSP, so he'll be talking about one of those again this year, as we always look forward to those talks. Larry goes super deep with his stuff, man, and prepare for a wild ride, because he will make you learn things about galaxies and stuff that you never even thought possible. He has that knowledge just tucked away in his brain. It's pretty impressive. And our friend Stephen Hummel, who is the dark sky specialist at the McDonald Observatory, will be on doing some guest speaking on how to keep the night skies dark and everything else. You see Joe put all the places you can find the live stream there at the bottom. We'll be talking about this, guys. We're working with Sky and Telescope magazine on this. We're working with Explorer Scientific. Joe, what did I miss on that real quick? I know I missed a lot.
I mean, there's a lot to it, right? And it's pretty incredible, Will, that you know, a couple guys like you and I got pulled into this. It's just an incredible honor to have the opportunity to be a part of this. And when you know, if you go back and look at those speakers, having one person on this list come and speak is a pretty special treat. But to have all 5 of these guys come on, share what it is that they're going to share with us. I mean, Stephen O'Mara is going to be giving his presentation from Botswana in Africa. Yeah. So, we'll be recording that just due to technology, challenges and things like that. But I mean, it's going to be a fun time. With COVID being what it is, everybody's had to kind of adjust and adapt to kind of the realities. That's why we're doing the meeting the way we're doing it tonight. And we figured, look, if we can't be there in person this year, we may as well bring the Texas Star Party experience to everybody else. And that's what I think we're trying to do. I mentioned earlier the camaraderie aspect of these star parties. Will, I know you had mentioned this, and I was kind of talking about it as well. That's, I think, what we want to bring to everybody else who's going to participate, is just that opportunity to engage and interact with everybody else while still listening to some really great speakers and having a chance to participate in a star party, that first night with the folks from the Fort Bend Astronomy Club. So yeah, I'm still overwhelmed at the fact that we're doing this right now, and it's awesome. So I'm really excited to be a part of it.
And there will be trivia as well, guys. Nightly trivia. So bring your thinking caps, or whatever that dumb saying is, because you can actually win stuff.
Yes.
Like actual, like not like, here's a pamphlet or something you want. This is good stuff. Our friend Carl Baltz is on a team that's going out and trying to find door prizes and things like that. Our friend Don Sully from the Houston Astronomical Society has been working really hard behind the scenes, getting all the cats organized and herding the cats into one room. Because it's organizing events like this is like herding cats. So
yeah. And Will, how much does it cost to register for this thing?
I think it's free, but if you register through me, it's $100.
There you go.
That's right.
No, but that's you know, one of the things I wanted to call out is A, it's free, so it doesn't cost anything to, you know, participate in this thing. B, there's no registration. So all of those destinations that we have down at the bottom of that that picture that Will was showing there, you just pop into any one of those and watch this event happening on those 3 nights. So the explorescientific.com/live link is going to be available to us on June 10th, but all of the other links are going to be there for all 3 nights. So if you're interested, you can just go to Facebook, find one of those pages, join us there. We've got Will's YouTube page, the Houston Astronomical Society's YouTube page. There's no excuse to miss it. So we're really excited to be doing this and look forward to seeing everybody that's here on those nights there for the Texas Star Party.
Absolutely,
Excellent.
man. It's going to be fun.
I want to see this information put up on our Facebook page, Will, and maybe even our website. And it's Houston Astronomical Society. Put it up on their Facebook page.
Absolutely.
Let's get this out there.
Yeah, and Sky and Telescope is actually about to start doing a bunch of promo for us. It was wild to me because I told them this in our call the other day. I was like, I grew up reading this magazine every page. You know, like I know what the ads used to say. Like I had the ads memorized. You know, like this magazine meant a lot to me, and it learned me growing up. You know, so like seeing those covers from the '90s of the Sky and Telescope magazine, I mean, it brings back so many cool memories. But to be working with them, be working with Explorer Scientific, to have David Levy, you know, one of the most pivotal comet hunters of our era, probably the last of the great comet hunters.
Yep.
He will be there with us to hang out and share stories and all kinds of stuff. And so awesome stuff. And we'll be talking more about this later. We'll be there's all kinds of promo and stuff coming out as well as we get closer to the event. So be watching for that. Corin says, I'll try to watch the Texas Star Party from here in London, UK on that weekend. Well, we'll be looking for you, Corin. Hope to see you there, man. We'll keep rolling here because we could talk about this all night. I know we could. We got lots of stuff to talk about. The June asset meeting, because of TSP Online, will be moved to the following Friday. So it'll be like 2 weekends in a row of astronomy stuff if you're into that sort of thing. But we normally meet on the second Friday of every month, and we move due to scheduling here and there. We're flexible. It's okay. And it'll be on, I think I got that date correctly, though. The June 18th will be the 3rd Friday of June. So we'll see y'all here for the asset meeting, but the weekend before, TSP virtual online. Speaking of star parties, really quick, as we're moving into some awesome stuff here, getting a NASA update. Rocky Mountain Star Stare coming up Labor Day weekend, September 2nd through the 6th. There's the coordinates if you want to know. You can just type in Google Rocky Mountain Star Stare and get a good idea. I think it's a 4-day event or something like that. And guest speaker Harrison Schmitt, Apollo 17 lunar module pilot and geologist.
He's a great guy. I got the opportunity to meet him. He's the very first astronaut that I ever met. They were doing an Apollo 17 panel at Space Center Houston. It was free to the public. I was the first one to get in line.
Yeah, I bet you were. I would have been too.
This was before I even worked there, and they opened the theater doors, and I was sitting right in the front row, and he's just sitting right behind me on his computer, just getting ready. And I looked back, and I'm like, you know who that is? And my cousin's like, no, like, who's he supposed to be? I'm like, it's Harrison Schmitt, and he, yeah, and he took a picture with me, and that was a heck of a way to meet an astronaut. So.
And before the talk, because after the talk, good luck to you trying to.
Oh yeah. There was other astronauts in the crowd that were trying to get up to talk to him. So I probably saw like 3 or 4 more that day, and just a great moment.
That's epic stuff, man. Meeting an astronaut is always cool. I mean, they're just people like the rest of us, and that's what you learn when you meet these guys and gals now. But it's awesome to meet them, especially an Apollo astronaut. Not a whole lot of those guys left with us now. So if you get the chance to meet one, it's truly something special.
Yeah, we just lost one recently. We lost
Right.
Michael Collins.
Collins, man. Wow. Who was a very pivotal early astronaut in America's space program. Yeah, take advantage if you do get a chance to meet these guys. Like I said, take advantage of that because you won't regret it. I promise you. And Harrison will be at RMSS, which I won't be able to make it, but I would love to have gone. Just after that, though, like just a few days in the grand scheme of things, October 1st through the 9th, the Okie-Tex Star Party. I smile when I say Okie-Tex because this is one of my favorite star parties in the world. One of the darkest skies ever. One of the most remote locations, which is kind of annoying, but okay. Because, once you get out there, the skies are worth it. This is a star party everyone must. So if you get the chance this year, if this is the time you can tent camp at this thing, go for it. Make it happen. Eddie has been to Okie-Tex with me before. Joe, have you been to Okie-Tex?
I have not yet, and there's no reason why I haven't. So no good one, at least, right? So
there's just a lot of star parties, and it's hard to do them all. Probably.
Yeah.
But this is a good one. We'll be talking more about Okie-Tex a lot as the time time goes on, as the meetings roll by. Here is the calendar that Howard always makes for us. Always has good stuff on it. You can see we are here at the 21st. So we are heading towards full moon at perigee, which has a significance coming up. And we'll talk about that briefly up in a little while. One thing I did want to mention really quick is the El Dorado Star Party 2020 video is up. You can watch it anytime. If you want to kind of experience what it's like to go to a star party, this is the only way, I guess, in video you can, experience it just by going out there or whatever, and just seeing it as an event that goes by. That is not a typo. 2020 did happen. The El Dorado Star Party did officially go forward in 2020. People were like, you mean 2021? And I was like, no, it was 2020. And 3 out of the 4 of us were there. And we had a great time. Everybody kind of spread out. We did the whole thing, and nobody got sick at El Dorado Star Party, which was amazing. There was only like 70 of us, if that, or
if that,
maybe, yeah.
But there were no gatherings, no speakers. It was pretty basic.
Food was to go.
Yeah,
it was catered, but it was to go. Most of us ate in our RVs and stuff like that. But
right,
it's a great star party. It made a nice video. It's out there on my channel if you want to watch it. Grab some popcorn, grab the family. It's mostly family friendly, except for that part where Joe's in there. But
I will say, I've seen a couple of videos that this guy has produced, and this is one of my favorites. I don't know what it is about it. I think he's getting better at his craft. What's his name, Will, the guy that does these?
Martin Scorsese, I think. No, thank you. I appreciate that.
It's Will that does it. Will's doing a fantastic job documenting these parties. So thank you, Will.
Yeah, thank you, man. And I'm just pointing my iPhone and play. If you see me holding my iPhone up, you know what I'm doing. I'm just trying to soak it all in and try to remember it, which is fun about these videos. I was telling everybody they're glorified home movies at the end of the day. So, like years from now, we'll look back and be like, oh, yeah, it rained that whole year. I remember that. So that video's out there, and I encourage y'all to watch it. But it is time to talk about all things NASA with our resident expert. Our now resident expert, new member of the club, first time on the thing, first time doing a talk. And so Carl is going to tell us, what is going on at NASA, man. Didn't they close or something after the shuttles? Didn't NASA close or something?
So that's the common belief as people would come and visit, and they, up until here recently, they were still asking, do we still have a space program? Are we still going to space? It wasn't until, last year with the whole Launch America campaign that people really started realizing that, hey, we still have a constant human presence in low Earth orbit. So yeah. But yeah, I'm happy to be here. Very excited to present for the first time. my background is in history, specifically military history and space exploration history. So I told Will I wouldn't mind doing an update of what's going on at NASA. And so the first part I want to start off is talking about some history. So a new exhibit it's been brought in to Space Center Houston and the Rocket Park at the Johnson Space Center is this Apollo 13 exhibit. So if you recognize the photo in the bottom right, that's the crew of Apollo 13 as they got off the helicopter, the H-3 on board the USS Iwo Jima at the end of their mission. And so they made these bronze statues of the crew, and they put it right at the nose end of the rocket in Rocket Park. So those of you that if you haven't been to Rocket Park, you haven't been to JSC, the big Saturn V that's laying on its side it's inside of a building now, and at the very front of it there's this display, and you see in the bottom left-hand corner you got Jim, or on the left you have Fred Hayes, a lunar module pilot, and then Commander Jim Lovell. So Jack Swigert had passed away several years ago, but he's on the picture in the right. And there's also more exhibits related to Apollo 13 that's in this area. I just haven't been over there to go see it yet. So a lot of the things that they're putting on display were actually pieces that were intended to be left on the moon. So if you remember from when they were returning, and they had the issue and the explosion with the spacecraft. When they were heading back, their entry path was shallowing, and so they were expected to be toting more moon rocks, right? A couple 100 pounds of moon rocks. So they ended up moving stuff from the lunar module into the command module, and so the weight would equal out. And now those things are, all of those things are on display, especially the plaque that was going to go, on the landing leg of the lunar module. And then there's actually pieces that Fred Hayes and Jim Lovell they pass out, like little pieces of mesh from the inside of the lunar module. And then one of my favorite pieces that they brought back is one of the mirrors that went right next to the window, and they hung it up in mission control. And it's to remind the flight controllers that hey, they were one of the most important pieces of the mission, because they're the ones that saved the crew. So they put it in the old Boker right next to a drinking fountain, so that way they can go and look at that mirror and remind themselves that they're one of the most key parts of the team.
Wow,
so that's cool.
So yeah, if you go there and visit it, make sure to take some extra time and see it all, and it's very for a history buff, it's very honoring to see something like that. So and then just with other NASA history, the last couple of years we've been celebrating the Apollo anniversaries, and so we'll just keep celebrating those as they come up.
Absolutely.
Yep. So and yeah, well, speaking of, you mentioned, do we still have a space program? Well, not with the NASA commercial crew. This is what's really getting people to realize that, NASA is still functioning. We're still sending humans into space. So we had Bob and Doug go up on the demo flight of the SpaceX Dragon last year, about this time last year, and then Crew 1 went up early in the fall, and then we had the Crew 2 launch last month. And so there's a picture on the top right of Expedition, I believe, 64 with NASA astronaut Mark Vande Hei, and then Crew 1 and Crew 2. So the space station was a full house up there. I mean, I believe that some of them actually had to sleep in the Dragon capsule because there wasn't enough sleeping pods on board the station. So yeah, they are going to send up another more sleeping pods for them. But yeah, I wouldn't mind sleeping in the Crew Dragon for a few nights. And yeah, so Crew 1 returned, and they were the first crew to return and splash down at night since Apollo 8 in 1968. So it's been over 50 years since we did some kind of night operation like that. So you're going to start seeing a lot of these little milestones that haven't happened since the Apollo program. And another one that was broken, with this crew was it was the first or 4 astronauts had set the amount of time and space together that came up on the same capsule, and that was a Skylab record that hadn't been broken yet. So you're going to start seeing a lot of more of these, little old records, space records, be getting broken by the commercial crew. And then Crew 3 will be launching in October, and they just announced this past week that Kayla Barron, she's the one in the orange suit there, was just added to the crew with Roger Chara, Thomas Mashburn, and I'm not gonna say this guy's name right, Matthias Marr. He's an ESA astronaut and believes him from Germany. So 3 rookies going up with this flight, and then Thomas Mashburn, it'll be his third flight. So really cool stuff that's going on just in low Earth orbit, and yeah, we're definitely excited to see the other parts of the commercial crew, hopefully getting off the ground very soon with Starliner and hopefully eventually the Orion capsule. So, and yeah, this is probably one of you guys' favorite topics, right? Except for how long it's taken to come to fruition. But what they announced this past week is that they unfolded the mirrors to test them out one last time before they're going to be folded back up again before the launch in October. So the launch date still stands for October 31st, 2021. And then I had the link in there of that video showing them unfurling it, and yeah, so everything's still sounding good unless you guys heard any other news, if it's still on pace to launch.
No news is good news, man.
That's what I think. So yeah, but on another planet, we had some really cool things happening. So the Ingenuity flight, this was the first successful flight of an aircraft, drone, whatever you want to call it, on another planet. So it's now completed 5 successful flights on Mars. I know there was a little bit of issue, then the JPL team had to do some upgrades or some little adjustments. I believe after the first flight, it had some trouble, but it's planning to do its 6th flight here next week. And I think that bottom right picture is showing it in flight. And for those of you that this is completely a test flight. It's not really helping out the Mars Perseverance rover, but what this is going to allow is when we start sending astronauts or we start sending more sophisticated rovers to Mars, you're going to be able to send out these drones out in the 4 cardinal directions, and then they're going to gather just small bits of data and then come back. And then that way, when the astronauts go out for an EVA, they're already going to have a few key indicators that, okay, let's go check out this area because the drone helicopter picked up this this mineral or this material on its camera. And so it's going to make our surface exploration much more efficient. And then whenever I talk about robotics, we always talk about robotics do the 3Ds. They do anything that's dirty, anything that's dangerous, anything that's dull. So you wouldn't send an astronaut to go walk out on the side of a cliff or ready or something that's it's really easy to do. Let's go send a robot out to do it first, and then we can go out and really do the hard science with that surface exploration. So this is going to be a big thing as we start venturing out to the outer solar system and exploring. and yeah, so this is very exciting news that this, and not just Perseverance, but the Ingenuity flights as well.
Agreed.
Very cool.
And then the last part here is the lunar lander contract was announced to SpaceX. So there's a picture of the concept of it, and so they're hoping, it doesn't look like the timeline is going to stay true by getting boots on the ground by 2024, but it's still looking good that it will happen at least. And yeah, we had the SN15 test landing test. That must be a typo. Landing test was successful. So I believe, Will, I think you were at this test?
No, I was out with Eddie and Joe.
Okay.
And I woke up one morning and saw a bunch of messages. So I was like, oh, okay, that happened.
So you saw the one that blew up then?
Yeah, I've seen SN 9, 10, and 11. Well, I didn't see 11, but different story.
Right.
You were there.
I was there and I heard it explode in the fog.
Yeah.
But now that they have successfully landed, their next hurdle is they're going to do, I'm not sure if they're calling it an orbital test or a suborbital test, but from my understanding is that they're going to be launching from here in Texas and then going into orbit, but then coming back down and landing out in the Pacific Ocean. So not quite a complete orbit. I guess that's a suborbital flight, but it's going to be testing its ability to go into orbit and then return back down.
Yeah, which will be interesting. I mean, I guess they're going to lose the booster and the Starship, but you got to break a few eggs to make an omelet. Is that what they say?
Yeah, and they've lost quite a few Starships already, but they're I think they're leaps and bounds ahead of other rocket companies when it comes to this type of technology, and that's you look back at the early NASA space flights, and those rockets were blowing up on the pad every other week, and so seeing these failures on TV, like they're not really failures. It's just they're getting to the point where they're making it perfect. So that's the way I see it. That's hopefully the way the media and us as space enthusiasts see this progress is being made by SpaceX. So.
Absolutely, man.
I think one of the interesting things about SpaceX is how accessible it is. I mean, I don't really have a sense of what NASA went through, but it seems to me that they were doing a lot of their testing way out where normal people couldn't get to. And this is, Will drives there.
Right.
And he's almost across the street when it happens.
Yeah, we were tailgating out there and the rocket's like blowing our stuff over. It's challenge to cook in the thrust of a rocket,
but it's easy to light the briquettes, right?
That's right.
Yeah, exactly. You just stick them out that way, stick them out yonder. But thank
and
you.
Then be able to see after, you had some good video of the wreckage, so to speak, after. So that's, NASA wouldn't let you, they wouldn't let you near any of that.
No, because they use hypergolic fuels and stuff that are super toxic. And because of where SpaceX is testing this, it's all inert stuff. Cryogenic nitrogen gases is how they thrust the thing around and move it around. And of course, methane and oxygen is the fuel for the engines. So it's definitely something. If you're in Texas, you definitely got to try to make your way down to South Padre when there's going to be a launch. It's definitely something to experience. And I think they're looking at July, yeah, for that weird flight, whatever you're going to call it. Doug D says orbital flight, orbital speed. Let's go with what it says. And they're going to try to do a soft landing out in the ocean. It's going to be fun. It's going to be weird for me, though, to not see the rocket come back after launch. Usually they come back and explode. It's been great fun. But thank you, Carl, for that presentation, man.
Yeah,
we had a couple.
Very nice.
You're welcome.
Lori said her uncle worked in mission ops at Apollo. His name was Cecil Dorsey. That's pretty awesome.
Wow.
I didn't know.
Anytime you get a chance to have a conversation with one of those guys, don't pass it up. Soak in every word that they say, because they're becoming few and far between, and yeah, you'll like Will said, you'll regret not getting the opportunity just to sit down and have a conversation with them.
That's absolutely true. Buy them a coffee if you can. That's the best way to go about it.
Mm-hmm.
Ingenuity is a true interplanetary unmanned aircraft system, or UAS. Yeah, and you do have to have a drone license to operate on Mars, despite popular belief. You do. I've heard that the FAA is very strict about flying on Mars, apparently. Bob says, awesome presentation. Thanks, Carl. Do we have the ability for an EVA to do things like a satellite repair? Could an EVA mission be done from a Dragon?
I do not know the answer to that question. I would assume it can be done because it has an airlock hatch, but yeah, I'd imagine they would want to use a different type of spacecraft, especially if they're trying to capture a satellite. They would, the shuttle had the Canada arm to to help capture that, and just maneuvering the Dragon capsule to get there would be very difficult in holding on to it. So, but I'm sure that that's being thought of and in the works, and yeah, but I'm going to look into that.
Yeah, I would assume that it just in like the Gemini days, or Gemini, depending on
Gemini,
how you want to
Gemini.
pronounce it. Everybody had to be in full pressure gear, right? You open the door, there's no like room that's like over here where it's an airlock, where you don't suck everyone in the vehicle out into the vacuum of space. So that would be a consideration to have if you were going to try to do an EVA with the Dragon. But like Carl said, you'll probably need another type of vehicle, something that the Dragon could mate up to, which was what made the shuttle so powerful, is that it could bring these truck-sized pieces up into orbit, and then you could start assembling them together. And that's why we have the International Space Station.
Now the Lunar Gateway would have that function, because they'll have the Canada Arm 3, and from what I understand, the biggest difference with the Canada Arm 3 is that it can attach and detach from both ends. So it's going to be able to attach onto one module and then attach to another one and then reattach to another one.
Wow.
So that would be something that would be a lot easier for a crew to conduct an EVA, to be able to capture a satellite or a piece of debris.
Which might become a big business after a while, catching all these Starlinks and vacuuming them up, like the vacuum cleaner or something. I don't
And
know.
give Travis the bill.
Yes. We are going to Travis the bill. Thanks, Travis. # blame Travis. Renee says, great presentation. Thanks. Well, thank you, Renee, for watching all that. We appreciate you hanging out with us. Juiceball coming in with the good quotes here. One test result is better than 1,000 expert opinions.
So true.
He happened to build rockets before any of us were born. So that guy knows a thing or two. Werner von Braun does. Bob says, I was thinking of Hubble repair. Let's hope Webb doesn't need that. Yeah, let's hope not, Bob. There is no execution for it'd be a very heavy paperweight out at Lagrange 1. Which is funny that it can't really be a paperweight out there at all, because pulling on it in any direction, it's just kind of out there.
It's a paper weightless.
That's it.
Ooh, Eddie coming in with the hot fire.
And that's one of the reasons that the James Webb has been taking so long and gone over, proposed launch dates, is because they have to be extra careful. They get one chance at it.
That's it.
That's right. And speaking of hot fire, with Eddie coming in with more hot fire, Eddie does our solar reports from time to time, or every month, especially since COVID. And Eddie has been keeping us up to date on whether or not the sun is waking up, or whether it's still taking a nap, whether it keeps hitting snooze, apparently. I mean, it's kind of opening its eyes a little bit there, I guess, Eddie, right? I mean,
It's coming to life, Will. It's definitely coming to life, and we've got.
Hey, Will, if you don't mind, if I can interrupt
Yeah.
Eddie's solar report real quick.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
So I forgot to mention our exciting news for an upcoming.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yes, and so the July asset meeting, we will have a very special guest speaker. So we will have a retired NASA astronaut, Colonel Brian Duffy, that will be joining us. And so Colonel Duffy flew on 4 shuttle missions. He flew as a pilot in 2 of them, and then he flew as a commander in 2 of them. And his last mission, which he'll talk about probably the most, is he was the last shuttle mission before we began inhabiting the space station full time. So,
Oh, wow.
So yeah, he's a super cool guy, Air Force test pilot, and yeah, his presentation is amazing. It's well rounded. You know, he keeps the kids engaged, and yet he can get very technical with the flight dynamics and everything that it takes. You know, flying the shuttle, docking to the space station. So yeah, we're going to be very happy and excited to have him. I believe we can send out an email to our members and get them to submit some questions before, and then we can take some questions from the chat. So yeah, that we look forward to that, and date to be determined, right, Will?
Yeah, well, July should be the 2nd or 3rd.
Okay.
I would assume probably the 2nd. I don't think there's much going on in July, but we will see. But probably 2nd or 3rd, absolutely.
Yep. And then he has. We asked him to appear virtually in the hopes that maybe he would be able to come, and when we're on site or when we're meeting in person, come to one of our meetings and see us all in person. So
yeah,
so very cool stuff. Like I said, he's a great guy, and you do not want to miss that meeting.
Yeah, and
That's
Carl,
awesome.
thank you for your help in making all that happen. Of course, you know, we almost walked off and left that on the floor, so I appreciate you remembering that. And it's going to be awesome, guys, to have an actual, you know, flesh and blood astronaut on our live stream here, and it's going to be fun. So again, submit your questions through email. Either send them to Carl, send them to me, send them to Eddie. We'll forward them all to each other or something, and we'll figure it out. But you know, please no flat Earth questions. Just kidding.
Is there any way to punch somebody the way Buzz Aldrin did? You know,
Yeah,
Zoom.
we should have an internet punch.
Yeah, I can already see the question, but for real though, for real,
Is it round though, bro?
for real.
Okay, so Eddie, sorry to interrupt you there, Eddie.
Oh, no worries. That's well worth it.
The sun has been doing some stuff, but I don't know. Is it, Eddie? I don't know.
Yeah, it's it has been. It's waking up, and there was recently a report, and I'll get into that later. That's kind of interesting, a little bit scary, maybe, I guess, if you choose to look at it that way. But let me start with this. We are coming out of a solar minimum. We're right here at this valley, and the solar maximum is predicted to be around July 20th, 25. And it's an 11-year cycle. So the next 6.5 years or 5.5 years should be very exciting. And even beyond that, as we move into the next minimum. So the solar cycle that's coming up is solar cycle 25, and we're well into it. Here's the calendar. I've gone back 6 weeks because our last meeting was April the 9th, I believe. And so I wanted to cover all the time between then and now. And as you can see, the white squares, no spots and no active regions on the sun. And the yellow squares, we had active regions with some spots. So you can see we had the majority of the 6 weeks that we had some activity. Now, it wasn't great activity, but it's coming alive. I think we had one active region this month, started on the 7th, 28-22. It was, I believe, almost 2 weeks long. Not bad.
Not bad.
So here's a video that I put together of the observable sunspots between April 9th and today. And as you can see, it starts out pretty blank, and then we get some sunspots, and they're close to the hemisphere, which is typical. And the sunspots that are close to the hemisphere roll off real quick because the sun's motion is quicker in the hemisphere. That was quick. I tried to make these slow motion, but it made them jerky. Because when you get right down to it, it's just a series of pictures that is put in motion very quickly. And when you slow it down, it gets jerky. But what I did was I wanted to focus on this area of the sun because there's a couple of sunspots that just appear very quickly, and it's pretty amazing to watch. This sunspot group, this active region right here is 2816. And the one we're going to be watching is going to come on here, and it'll be 2818. 2817 is in the other hemisphere, so we won't worry about that one. But just watch what happens. Here's this one here. These start to disappear. And 2818, all of a sudden there's 2820, and all of a sudden there's 2821, just coming out of nowhere. So that was pretty exciting for that few days. And then they were gone. Here's a different wavelength. See if you can follow the sunspots that happen here. There's a couple of blank spots, but there's that grouping that came up. You can see the active regions. Even when there's no sunspots, there's activity on the sun. Again, nothing really major as far as big sunspots. I think this one was pretty big. The one before it, they compared it to the size of Neptune. So this one, I'm sure, is a little bit bigger. You can see the Earth scale there. And then on April 12th, we had this solar tornado, which is pretty cool. And I believe that's sunspot 2814 up here. But look at you can see the twisting motion there.
Yeah. And
that was pretty cool. It didn't have any relationship to an active region. It was just a flare, and it basically fell back into the sun. Very little of it left.
I wonder what the EF rating, the enhanced Fujita scale would be. It's like an F4 is like the biggest on Earth, or F5 is probably like an F15 or something.
Yeah, I should have put the Earth in there for scale. It's probably smaller than that O in tornado.
Exactly.
Right.
So there was that solar tornado, which I thought was pretty cool. And then we had, for the first time in a long time, an M1 class solar flare. Now, as you guys probably know, solar flares are classified, with B's being the lowest level, and they hardly affect Earth at all. And then 10 times more powerful than the B's are the C class, and then 10 times more powerful than the C class are the M class. And that's where we are here. The only flare more powerful than the M class is the X class, and that's 10 times more powerful than the M class. So that was a pretty bright solar flare, and it was associated with the active region 2816, and it happened on April the 9th. It caused some concern on Earth, and it did some shortwave radio blackout because it was kind of pointed towards us. And solar flares give off a massive amount of X-rays, and they travel at the speed of light, so they get to the Earth pretty quickly ahead of what we would normally see a coronal mass ejection get to the Earth. So this was an interesting feature that happened on the sun. The first time I'd ever been exposed to it. They called it a solar tsunami, and it was part of this solar flare. You see the solar flare happening in the middle, but look at the wave of material that leaves it. It just, I hope you can see that on your screens.
I can, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's a solar tsunami. It's actually solar material that is ejected into the upper coronal atmosphere, and it spreads like a tsunami would in water on Earth. And when we first started seeing these, I think it was caught in 1997 by the SOHO satellite. We weren't sure what it was. We didn't know if it was a shadow or if it was an artifact from satellite. We saw them over and over. It wasn't until 2009 when the stereo satellite caught this phenomenon from two different angles, because it had the stereo leading satellite and the stereo following satellite. And so they caught it from two different angles, and they were able to determine that, yes, indeed, it was a tsunami type phenomenon. You can read down there the technical name is a fast mode magnetohydrodynamical wave. Yeah, I like tsunami much better.
Yeah, just rolls off the tongue, you know?
Yeah, so that happened on the 22nd. Interesting stuff. I don't know that you could see this through a telescope. I don't think so. And here's a video. This is going to show you some coronal holes, and it's also going to show you a lot of the flaring that happens. It's going to roll by pretty quick. Those dark areas are solar holes, and they release a lot of solar wind that affects us here on Earth. So I just think this is a beautiful image. I always like showing that. It's hard for me to explain everything that goes on. I'll show you here. This is an active region, and you can see the flux, the magnetic lines in a circle, in an arc above and below it. And then on the ends, it just goes out. And on top, you can imagine the arc is like this. You just can't see it.
Yeah.
But that's the magnetism of the sun.
It's just crazy to see the sun in this kind of detail. You know, where decades ago this was impossible. Now we can really understand how the sun, well, even though it raises more questions, but we kind of know a little bit about what's going on.
Yeah, not even decades ago, right? It's not too long ago we didn't have this kind of detail.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and it's helping us to learn how the sun works. And as I said, there was a report that just came out, and the report actually talks about magnetic storms. We had an idea that magnetic storms had a certain frequency, and we'd like to think that the frequency would make a 100-year storm every 100 years. I mean, but there's some researchers that have gone back and they've looked at some old reportings of solar activity, and they put it all together, and they were able to go back further than just the 50 years. They went back 100 years, and every solar cycle they took the two largest magnetic activities that occurred, and they did some statistical equations on them. And what they determined was that that 100-year storm is not as infrequent as we had originally thought. It's more like a 50-year storm now. So everything just, the frequency of these large events just got cut in half. Wow. Here's another video, different frequency. I'm going to show this a couple of times because I want to point out some things that happened. Remember that solar tsunami we saw, or that tornado? It happens at the beginning of this video, and there's some other things that happen, but let me see if I can play it again. Yeah, there's that tornado. This is happening so quick, I'm not able to point out everything that happens, but there's a lot of active regions going across the screen. This is that big one with the big solar flare that happened. This one had some solar flaring. This one's up there right now. This is today, or this morning, I should say. So that was just a different frequency. This is what I wanted to show you. They call it the fire fountain. This was on April 25th. And on this image, you can see some of that tsunami happening. I see it right here.
Yeah, you sure can.
And it looks like it happens before that fountain flares up.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, so there's that. As I said, there wasn't a lot of activity. This was an M3.9 solar flare. It's the strongest solar flare of this current solar cycle. And it happened a couple of weeks ago. I think we were at El Dorado when this happened on May 7th, weren't we?
Yeah, I got sunburned because of it, I think.
Yeah, yeah. Fortunately, as you can see, it was on the limb just turning on to the surface of the sun. And so it whatever it put out missed the Earth entirely. But something like this, as they get stronger into the X class, 100 years ago, it affected all the telegraph offices. It started fires in the buildings. And the concern now is if this comes to Earth, our electrical grid has been hardened, so it wouldn't affect it so dramatically. But the concern is how it's going to affect the GPS satellites. And that, we depend on GPS for location services and for clock services. It sets the clocks in a lot of areas. I mean, just remember the VHS tape machines blinking 12 o'clock. I mean, that could conceivably happen if one of these storms hit the Earth full on. So this was a C-class storm that happened on the 18th of this month. Again, right on the edge. We're not seeing any of this happening facing us. So we've been fortunate there. Not trying to scare anybody, just saying this stuff happens. And I'm going to end this with this image from the SOHO. This is a month long. And what's interesting is you're going to see coronal mass ejections happen. And this happens quick. So it's good that it happens quick because then you can see it. And of course, there's Venus and there's Mercury coming in and out of this shot. And you can see how much material the sun just spews out, and that causes the solar winds. And there's the Pleiades.
Yeah, the Pleiades.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool.
One thing that I love about those is the particles that hit the camera. You can see that if you think of the static, like as the image goes by, the static that you see is actually solar particles hitting the camera.
Yes.
And during a massive coronal mass ejection, the static gets worse.
And so I've seen it flash the camera out. I mean, where it just overwhelms the camera.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's interesting.
And the longer ones you see there's some of them are real long, real short. I guess they come in at angles, right? I guess that's what's going on there.
Yeah. The ones that come straight at us, you almost don't see them because they'll start here and they'll get bigger. Yeah. And because you're looking straight through them, it's like looking at a bubble. You see the edges more than you see the straight through.
Beautiful.
And I always forget to say the sun is right here and it's blacked out so that it doesn't overwhelm the camera. And the camera's gain is turned up so that we can see the material flowing off the sun. And that's the last time I'll show that, I promise.
That's all. I love that view.
I want to show this one last picture, Will. I know it's interesting to you because you've done something like this.
Oh, yeah.
This gentleman by the name of Terry Legault took a picture of the transit of the International Space Station with the Crew Dragon docked to it. That seems to me to be a very incredibly detailed image of the ISS. Kudos to the guy. He did a great job here, but look at that detail.
Wow.
That's almost unbelievable.
Doesn't look like a SPY fighter now, does it, Internet?
Yeah, that's a pretty good image.
That's amazing. You can count the solar panels on there.
Yeah.
Gary's done some really incredible images of, tracking the International Space Station across the sky, and his work is just incredible.
Yeah, I was about to say, I definitely recognize that name, Terry Legault.
So I think this is the Crew Dragon that's docked to it. One of these nodes is. I apologize for not knowing for sure, but yeah, good on him. He took a great image there.
Absolutely, that is just stunning. And it's hard to remember that, that little thing that's in there. It looks big on the surface of the sun. I mean, it's just because it's close. Yeah.
So I look up here at the upper right. It says transit duration was 0.8 of a second.
Yeah.
Wow.
Almost 1 full second, which I've done them, I guess, into the maybe 7.7, but I don't know if I've had a 0.8. That's a pretty good pass.
Yeah.
And as you know, Will, this is not a casual picture. You don't just turn your camera up there and take a picture and say, "Oh, look what I got." This takes some incredible planning, doesn't it?
Yeah, and luckily there's websites that can help all of us do this kind of stuff. You just put in your location, you put in how far you're willing to drive. It will give you over the next couple. It only goes out a few days because the space station is always falling back to Earth in altitude, so they have to boost it up every once in a while to keep it up there. So that changes the timings and where it will cross and how long, everything. So they only do it a little bit of advance, but that image is far better than anything I've ever been able to do. I've always just done, quick little fun things with it. That's a whole nother level of beautiful capturing right there. So golf clap.
So of course he was in Paris. Will, if you would only get to Paris, you could probably get something just like this.
That's what I keep hearing. That's
all right. So that's my solar report. Not a lot, but not a little going on there.
Something is happening though, and that's the important part. That something is happening on the sun, and now we get to, at least when we go to outreach events, we're not like, "Hey, little kids, you see this orange ball in the telescope? That's the sun." At least when there's sunspots, you can be like, "You see that little black dot on the sun? That's the size of Earth." They're like, "What? Wow! Oh, cool!" So
there's a person on the call, or excuse me, that's been participating with us all night that makes and takes some pretty incredible solar photos, and that's Lloyd Overcash. If you haven't seen his photos of the sun's, the sun's features, right? He does all kinds of different photos there. They're pretty incredible.
Yeah,
I will say. I used to have a green screen back here, and one of our meetings, I projected one of Lloyd's beautiful pictures up there.
Yeah.
It just showed so many features coming off the surface. Yeah, so I'm very aware of his work.
Lloyd's got a nice little perch out there in near the Prude Ranch. Actually, he can throw a rock and hit the ranch basically, and he's always out there doing fun stuff. Oh, who's that? Is that a phantom arm or is that Cat?
This is my better half, Cat.
I didn't know if it was someone attacking Eddie, or I wish everything was okay.
She's the co-treasurer. She keeps me in line.
And trustful free person.
Yes.
Hey, Cat.
Joe Caleb says hey. She says hey back, Joe.
And Adam says, "Excellent report, Eddie." I agree. I agree with Adam's assessment on that. I agree with Brandon Foster's assessment on that as well. Brandon's stepping into the world of telescopes. Bought him a Schmidt cast.
Nice.
I was able to go there and teach him how to use it a little bit. Just point him into a few directions. So hopefully he's been able to get that thing out in the rain. It's basically all it's been since we did our last session. But hopefully you're at least putting this to some good use, Brandon. Ray bailed at $50,000. I don't know if that was. Oh, that's probably
Ray is Renee's husband, so maybe he was trying to bid on that seat for Blue Origins.
Yeah, because Lloyd says the highest bid is up to $2 million, and I can see how Ray might have said, "Yeah, I'm good."
Yeah, no, I'm going to call it quits here.
$2 million could almost buy you a big enough bottle rocket to go ahead and get the job done. Remember,
guys, we just need to pool our money together and then raffle off a ticket.
That's it. And hey, that's all the
Yeah.
more reason to contribute to Amazon Smile, right?
Yes, exactly. We're going to build a big rocket and launch all the asset board of directors and
Yeah.
orbital
And
flight.
maybe they'll just let us name it. We'll name it Rocket Rockface or something.
Rock face. I like that.
That's it.
It's a very internet name, Eddie. I love it. Well, thank you for the solar report as always, Eddie. That's always good stuff, man. I love it.
Thank you.
I love hearing about what's going on. I love the way you present it and put it all together. You're an observer of the sun. You know what you find interesting, and that helps us find stuff interesting as well on the sun. You know, the sun is a very cool thing to do, and the Astronomical League actually has a couple of awards associated with the sun. They have a solar observing in white light or just regular filter of the sun, and hydrogen alpha, which are both great awards. Both definitely worth your time. The H Alpha Award is where you'll see the fun stuff like you're seeing on the screen now, where the solar flares and the coronal mass ejections and things like that, the prominences. But white light is cheaper and easier to do, and it's also a whole other thing. So get into solar stuff. That's
You know,
we always forget that. Go ahead, Eddie. Sorry.
That set of sunspots that I showed that focused in, that would have been a great series of sunspots to draw because it changed so quickly. That to me is the fun part.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And interesting enough, I'm sorry, one more thing. When we were at X-Bar Ranch, I had my hydrogen alpha telescope and I had my Herschel wedge ready to look at the sun, and we had 0 sunspots that week.
I remember you saying you're going to break it out, and it was like nothing.
Yeah, just
forgot the polls, but brought all of that stuff out, right?
Yeah, yeah, we can look, but it's like looking at an orange.
Yeah.
No,
I was just gonna say, you know, we always talk about, yes, the sun is a star, but you forget that it indeed is a star, like a lot of the other stars that are out there. But at the same time, it's so unique. It has its own characteristics and properties and things like that we just don't find in a lot of other stars, you know, that we're able to observe and kind of measure the way that we do the sun. So it's just a treat. And like the moon, a lot of times we forget that it's something out there that we could learn a lot from. If you have the means, by all means, go out and observe the sun. It's just a spectacular thing to observe. And the more you learn about it, the more fascinating it is to observe.
It is. And again, it's a whole Astronomical League award.
Yes.
If you want a crash course in solar observing, go do it.
Yeah.
Do it safely. You know, so if you have questions, of course, get with any of the guys on the panel here tonight. And, you know, we could definitely, you know, walk you through that kind of stuff and to where you can do it safely. But it, you know, like Joe said, man, once it gets real active, like so in like the 2023, 4, 25 range, you're going to want a solar telescope. I promise you.
Yeah.
Because every day is going to be a new adventure. And what's funny is if you know Hawaii, just draw Hawaii every day. That's what the sunspots always look like. Chain of
but you did mention 23, 24. We've got a couple of events happening in those years related to the sun as well. So
we do.
You know, it's a good time to get used to doing that kind of observing, get that practice in, and then take advantage of that experience that you get when those eclipses do come by and you're ready to observe them. So
yeah, October 2023 is an annular eclipse not far from the X-Bar Ranch. And 2024, April 8th or something like that?
Something like that, yeah.
We're going to have a total solar eclipse, just like in 2017.
Yeah.
Get like Joe said, get those solar scopes, man, before the price doubles again.
Yes.
After 2017, which is what had happened. What had happened was,
yeah.
a lot. Now we can't afford it. So
yeah, and I picked one up after 2017 as well, you know, for fairly cheap because, you know, people bought them and said, okay, I no longer need this, which is just a shame, right? You shouldn't just use an eclipse as an excuse to observe the sun, but but it's a great reason to observe it, though.
That's right. That's right. It's a buyer's
market. If you can't get a solar scope, make friends with somebody who has one.
Absolutely.
Good point. Not me, though. I won't let you look through mine. I have a white light, but that's as far as I've been able to go. One day I will have a Lunt hydrogen alpha behemoth like Eddie has. One day.
I'll have to bring the Coronado out to
I'd love
the
to
X bar one time
on the Coronado and the Lunt, just see how they compare against each other.
Sure.
They're both great telescopes and both allow you to see the upper atmosphere,
That's right.
which is fun. Another lunar event that's coming up for those of us in the Houston area. We may want to seek other locations for this particular one. I think the weather is going to be a little south of good. But anywhere in the pink, if you're in that pinkish area, you're going to see something if the sky is clear. You want to be in Hawaii, out in the sunspot islands out there, if you can. And that's where you're going to get a full total lunar eclipse. But if you're here in the States, or if you're here in Houston, like I have pointed out here, you're not going to see a whole lot. You're going to get maybe into totality, and then we're going to lose the moon. It's going to go over the horizon. If you've ever even tried to view a full moon on the horizon, you know how hard that can be. So add, Earth's shadow on top of the moon. It's going to be a very interesting thing. I'm going to try for it. Fellas, I don't know what y'all's plans are. I'm going to go for it and see what happens. It looks like it's going to be cloudy. We may get lucky. Who knows? But that's what happens, right? Whenever there's an event, there's a meme about that. It's like biggest meteor shower in forever, and it's clouds. Biggest solar prominence ever, it's clouds.
Yeah,
that's just the way it goes. Joe keeps buying new gear, and so we all get clouded out. That's the way it goes.
So, Will, this happens at sunrise for us, or at moonrise?
Sunset. Wait. Yes. So
because all these times are AM.
Yeah, it's going to be rising in the east. Is that right? Yeah. Or is it setting?
I don't know. It's a good question.
I believe it's going to be, if I'm not mistaken, it's going to be setting.
We'll put all that to bed here in just a second. At the end of the thing, we'll go into Sky Safari, and that's where we'll wrap it up tonight.
Yeah.
We'll all work together. Because I know, but I can't remember, and I'm not going to sit here and try to, because I'm not going to say one thing and then have it be wrong. That's just dumb, especially later.
Yeah, the honest question is I don't know.
That's right.
That's it.
The honest answer, yeah.
But I can find out.
That's right. One thing I did want to mention before we get to some comments and questions in the chat, because I see we got some cool stuff in there. May 15th and 16th, 2022, mark your calendars. That's next year, y'all. It's like 350 some odd days until this one. This is going to be what you want to see, which is the total lunar eclipse, where it's up in the sky and not, on the horizon. And this is for us in America, in North America. And it'll be a good one. So mark your calendars. You can see there that the moon magnitude will, that circle around the moon there in that picture is the umbra of the Earth's shadow, which is the dark, fun stuff, the good part. The penumbra is the outer stuff, boring. Nobody likes a partial lunar eclipse. Nobody. We all like the total lunar eclipses, but this one is going to be a good one. 15th and into the 16th, 2022. I would assume that we'll be able to meet maskless somewhere for all that, maybe, who knows? But we'll see how that goes, I guess, as time rolls forward. And then one thing I'll mention before we go into the software to check out what's really going to happen with this eclipse. I got this quick Facebook memory that popped up. The picture on the right is a picture of Saturn that I took today, but 11 years ago. Crazy, right? That we're getting memories for 11 years on Facebook now. This is one of the first images I took with an iPhone through a telescope. And had I known what I was going to be doing later, it would have been, a little bit more, I would have taken a little bit more seriously, probably. I believe this is through a Celestron first scope, one of those little $40 things. I'm pretty sure. And you can see there that the rings are just, edge on, right? Like a line going through Saturn. Whereas now I included an image of Saturn now that I didn't take. It's just a simulated image. But you can see that the rings are tilted towards us to where we can actually see like the Cassini division and that sort of thing. In 2010, if you wanted to observe the Cassini division, you couldn't do it. There's no way to do it. You had to wait years until Saturn, tilted, because Saturn has seasons just like every other planet, basically. So my point in saying all this is Saturn is coming back. It's over in Capricorn, that whole area over there with Jupiter. View it while you can, y'all, because these rings are turning back. It will eventually become that line you see in the picture there. So don't wait on this one. Get out and observe it as soon as you can, because over time, basically, we're gonna lose the rings, and that's gonna be it.
But Will, come on now, they'll come back. The rings will do this. They'll get edge on. We'll lose them, but then they'll do this too.
Yes, and so we'll be seeing like the southern hemisphere of Saturn.
Yeah.
But if you want to view the northern hemisphere again, I think it's going to be in the late 2030s when you'll be able to do that again. So yeah, Eddie's right. Saturn's not going nowhere, but the northern hemisphere is. For those of y'all that might be getting a little up there in age, you might want to go ahead and take one last look at old Saturn's North Pole, which is crazy that you say that, because it's going to be decades.
Yeah.
See it again, which is just crazy. It's just crazy stuff. But Joe, you had something? Sorry, I saw something in the private chat. What you got?
No, I was just I have Starry Night open.
Let's
if
do
you
it.
wanted to take it. I didn't know if you had it open or not.
I have Sky Safari Pro, but let's get Starry Night in there.
Okay.
And while you're doing that, I'll get to some of these comments. Let's see here. Brandon says, what is the time lapse on those CMEs? How fast do they really shoot out? Eddie.
That's a great question, Brandon. I wondered that myself when I first started doing it. It's like, this is going to be amazing. The best way that I can explain it is like looking at an analog clock. You can see the second hand move, but if you look at the minute hand, you can't see it move. You can look at it and look away for a few minutes and look back, and you'll notice that it has moved, but you can't see the movement. And that's the way it is with this CMEs. I've watched them where I don't see movement, but if I just keep my eye on it, I'm thinking something's changed. This thing used to look like a tree. Now it looks like one of the branches is gone, and I wasn't aware of it happening.
Yeah.
So you're aware of movement, you just can't see it happen.
It's like watching paint dry, but more fun.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Renee says, Eddie, I want solar observing training from you. You just opened Eddie's School of Solar Observing.com.
Yeah. Step one, look in the eyepiece.
Check filter.
The best way you're going to learn is by doing it. I mean, you can have someone tell you, and I've had some great mentors from our club. Bill Christian was a great solar observer, and he got me interested in it. And the things he saw that he would say he saw, I would start to look for. And initially, I couldn't see them. But the longer I looked, I started saying, oh, okay, now I know what he's talking about. And you just go from there. You got to look to see.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. You got to look. You can see a whole lot by looking, I think, is what Yogi Berra said, which is not Yogi Bear, Yogi Berra baseball. Two different characters. Spencer bought some stuff, so we're going to get a hurricane, I'm sure. Thanks.
Yeah,
Spencer.
thanks a bunch, Spencer.
We appreciate you, Spencer. You're the man, Spencer. Spencer's a good guy, a member of our club, of course. Mac, what's up, dude? Just like an SN15 launch. Yeah, that's the way it goes. You go all the way down to South Padre to watch nothing happen. That's the way it goes. Doug D says only about 10 minutes of totality if you're up high around 6 a.m. It's probably talking about one of the solar eclipses stuff. And then the general consensus, Joe, seems to be that it is setting.
Yeah, it's setting. So you've got the southwestern and western cardinal points here. So if you look, right, and this is shortly after 5, so 5:06 p.m. The shadow is just off, and I have to zoom out here, where the moon is. And as we progress through the night, early morning, I should say, you can see it's starting to set further out into the west. So as we get closer to, say, 6 o'clock in the morning, we're at around 5:55 here. It's going to be really low to the horizon, so just about to set at that time.
That's what Doug D was talking about.
Yeah.
At 6 a.m., you'll see the totality for about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
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 There he is. Doug D coming in with the... Is that Doug Donier? Is that Doug Donier?
Gotta be. It's gotta be.
Doug Donier.
The double D.
Double D. Doug, if that is Doug, then that is one of our very treasured members of our club, and someone whom I miss hanging out with very much. So if that's you out there, Doug, you the man, and know that we miss you, buddy. Jeff says Kelly T is an awesome solar observer as well. Yeah, Kelly Taylor is a beast, man. He has amazing telescopes and even greater knowledge in that brain of his. Miss Kelly too. Oh, it is Doug D. Look at that. We are good. We are good investigators. It took us the entire episode to figure that out. We're good. So there it is. And hey guys, look. So the moon is in Scorpius. So charge your crystals. Align. The blood moon is in Scorpius. So that means the house of Orion is going to be a little off or something. I don't know. Joe, take it away on the astrology.
Yeah. So all of you Gemini out there, love is in the air. So be ready that morning because chances are fate awaits you.
Fate awaits you, and it's in your newspaper. All you need to know about how your day is going to go is in the newspaper column, and you'll see. Except if you're on the cusp like me. I'm one of those people I didn't even know it was a term. I learned that in college. But I told my friend when my birthday was. He's like, "Oh, you're on the cusp." I'm like, what does that mean? Like, who knows where all the cusps are for each horoscope? It's hilarious. But apparently, if you're born on the cutoff day for one sign and another, you're both.
Ooh.
I always thought you were kind of cuspy.
Yeah. I always felt a little cuspinated or something. Spencer says, "Uh-oh, I don't even want to know what that was for or from, but, you know, probably because we're blaming him for the weather." She says, "Hi, Doug." I think that we all say, "Hey, Doug," with her, but well, cool. There it is. I mean, that's the eclipse coming up on the 26th.
So you got to wake up early because we're saying it's setting. That's when the sun, before the sun comes up, or as the sun is coming up.
Yep.
Does it start at? Does the penumbra or the umbra start is like 4 a.m. or something like that?
It's in the 4 a.m. hour, sometime in there, I believe. I'll have to go back and take a look.
And so that's something to catch. You know, when the moon starts getting darker, you will visibly notice it, even if the moon is lower on the horizon. If there's clouds, you won't, obviously. But.
Yeah, and in the simulation here at 4:50, you can see some darkening, some reddening here on at least part of the moon. And then on this limb over here, not so much, right? So yeah, you can start to see some of the effects of the eclipse earlier, but yeah, for totality, it's going to be a little lower on the horizon and a little closer to sunrise.
Cool.
Yeah. So wake up early that day, or just drink a lot of coffee the night before, as probably I will do, and just go to sleep at dawn. The weather for Beaumont, and I don't know what it looks like for Houston. The weather for Beaumont doesn't look great. It's sort of that bluish teal look on Astrospheric. If y'all use Astrospheric, I hope y'all do. If y'all aren't using Astrospheric to plan your observing, it really will help you decide whether you're having movie night or Messier marathon. You know, it just really depends. Right. So Astrospheric is a good way to kind of plan your week or whatever as it's coming up. If you want to do lunar observing, whatever, it's just going to tell you what the clouds are up to, winds, temperatures, and stuff like that. And I looked and I didn't like what I saw, but that far out, it's the flip of a coin. You know, Astrospheric has been known to be wrong. All of them are. All forecasts are wrong at some point. So hopefully that one is wrong, I guess, right, guys? And we'll maybe get to see a setting blood moon, which is crazy.
Yeah. Sounds
crazy. Charge your chakras or something.
In Scorpius, so of all things, right?
Yeah. Good stuff. But that's where we're going to probably hang the hat on this episode, or this what is it? The June? Is it? No, it's May. I mean, I don't even know where I'm at anymore. Where I'm already in June, which is not. I want to slow that down because Joe and I have a lot of work to do.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to being done with everything this early. So
yeah, Joe and I are doing like what I think like 99% of the editing between
that's
Joe.
it. Yeah.
Wow.
Somehow or another, we became video editors and video producers as well. So
Yeah, in the digital age, you got to wear as many hats as you can.
that's it.
And right now we have helmets under hats so we're doing a lot. It's funny because we're the only one not actually wearing a hat on this stream, which is
That's
cool.
right.
But I should have wore my NASA hat. I would have felt much better saying that. But no, it's gonna be fun. Where I'm having a blast editing some of the stuff that I'm editing. I'm just having fun, cutting and pasting video and doing graphics and stuff. And it's gonna be a fun event. Joe and I are gonna do our best work, I think, ever. And we're gonna replace TSP with the best way we know how as a digital age with this. We replaced almost entire year of, or maybe even more than a year now, actually more than a year of asset meetings with online stuff. I hope y'all have gotten something out of it. I definitely have. It's kept me whenever the astronomy meeting is coming, whenever a star party is coming, I get that excitement. I think most of y'all know that excitement because it's something that I live and breathe for, is astronomy. And so when stuff like that comes up, it's always exciting. And the pandemic did put a really big blanket on all that, I think. So the excitement was less. It was still there, but it was less. And I hope that these broadcasts have helped y'all while you're staying home and doing all that stuff. And now as we peek our heads back out to the real world, and we start going back out to hang out, whether wearing masks or not, whether vaccinated or not, hopefully everyone's getting vaccinated. Hopefully we can walk away from this having learned something. And I know I have, but I appreciate all y'all hanging out with us in our long meetings, just hanging out and nerding out about astronomy. And I also appreciate Eddie Trevino being the treasurer of the club, Kat Trevino doing amazing work with our club outreach. They're one of my main outreach peoples. And so it's just been fun to do this, and we've been having a lot of fun with it. And I know, Joe has only ever really been leading through COVID. You're going to almost need like a do-over, Joe, so you can, have the in-person feel of being the president of a club with 860 players.
It's interesting because when I went into my first year doing the planning meetings and everything else, I had all these great plans to do these, fantastic socials, bring members together, and then COVID hit. So we haven't had a chance to do any of that. But, when something like this happens, there are new avenues for opportunities, and we've certainly taken advantage of that to bring people who maybe wouldn't have gone to those in-person meetings together, and kind of gotten them started on the path to becoming amateur astronomers. So I'm excited for what I'm hoping is the end of the pandemic and a somewhat return to normalcy here, so that we can get back to those things that you mentioned, Will. But in the meanwhile, if you haven't been vaccinated, take care. Try to get vaccinated. Because I had COVID back in March, I had to wait until last Saturday to get my first vaccine. So I'm looking forward to rejoining the rest of humanity here soon.
Yeah, and we'll be glad to have you, Joe.
Yeah. Instead of living in my box here. So
yeah, you can finally get out of the house and get some fresh air and sun.
That's it.
That's the way it goes. It's last minute questions coming in. Has any of you guys been to Headlands in MI? Was that Michigan?
Yeah. I've never been myself. No.
No. I don't go north of the Mason-Dixon line for any reason. There's no reason. Everything is in Texas that I love. So,
except for the Okie-Tex Star Party.
Except for Yellowstone. And the Okie-Tex, that's kind of Texas though, because it's called Okie-Tex, you know what I'm saying? And then George says turtle. So there we go. Yes. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you, George, for hanging out with us. George is a fellow observer, good guy. Great to see all y'all. Eddie, thank you for the solar report, my man. It was great stuff.
Oh, absolutely. My pleasure, Will. It's great to be here. I love being a part of this.
Always learning stuff from Mr. Eddie Trevino. He's a very famous guy in our club because he will collect his dues from you at some point. Oh yes, he will. He will.
I will find you.
He will find. He's already looking for George. He's already on the hunt. 73s to you as well, Jeff. That's a radio talk for see you next time.
Sayonara. Yeah.
Sayonara. Joe, thank you for hanging out with us, man. All the way from Houston.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me on. I always enjoy hanging out with you guys, whether we can do it in person or virtually like this. It's always a blast just to chit chat about astronomy with you guys.
Yeah, get to geek out for a little while and spread some astronomy love as far and as wide as we can. And after the pandemic, we're gonna have to come up with fun and interesting ways to kind of keep that conversation going online. I know there's already talk about Texas Star Party being virtual every year, even when it's in person.
Right.
I think it's pretty fascinating. I think it's a great idea. And
yeah.
I think Joe and I just secured salaries for the next 10 years.
There we
That's
go.
Awesome.
We're going to double our salary next time, Joe, I think. Which is,
Wait, there's a salary involved?
Oh, I wasn't supposed to mention that.
You're not getting paid, Joe?
I was going to say, I haven't had anybody mention
it. And, I've got like benefits. I got vision. You know what I'm saying? So, George says, good vibes to you, George. Thank y'all for watching. Kat, as always, thank you for supporting Eddie and bringing his truss poles all the way out to the West Texas deserts.
I could not have observed without her.
Yeah, we saw objects in Eddie's scope. So, it would really been a sad time. Eddie would have just been kind of a light leech like myself. I'm always a light leech, it seems like, but that's the way it goes. I don't mind that. I like looking through other people's scopes, because then you don't have to take one down.
Hey, she's trying to convince me to invest in a night vision setup.
Wait,
I told her I know a guy.
Convincing?
I think you should. I think you should wait until the monsoon. Do it. So they go inside. Yeah, I think you should, Eddie. The night vision thing is definitely a fun way to view. So, and you know a guy.
I know a guy.
You know a guy. Adam says, God bless you guys. Have a good one. Adam, thank you for joining us again, as always. Get it, Eddie. Don't even wait. I know Spencer would add that on there. Don't even wait. Just get it.
Yeah.
YOLO.
That's true. That's true.
I'm sure we can come up with a horoscope for you that says you're going to have night vision in it. So
right, we'll work on one immediately. Renee says, you guys are a riot. Next time, we will see you next time, Renee. We'll be getting in touch with you whenever we have those outreach events. Trust us. And we hope to see you out there. Guys, thanks again for watching, for hanging out with us, for chit-chatting in the chat room with us. We learned something tonight. We shared some info on astronomy, and that's exactly what we came to do, because we are the Astronomical Society of Southeast Texas, or ASSET, if you just want to shorten it a little bit. We are a nonprofit astronomy club based in Beaumont, Texas, and y'all have been to our meeting now. At least you can say you've been to an astronomy meeting with a club in Texas, and you're not lying at that point, because this is the only way we're meeting right now. So you might as well be in the same room with us. And we appreciate y'all watching. Thank y'all for always sharing the feeds over here on all the platforms. We thank y'all for that. Any parting words of wisdom, Eddie?
Hats off to you again, Will. Did a great job this month. And Joe, thank you for joining us. You bring a lot to our club. Thank you.
I appreciate that. Like I said, it's a pleasure to be a member of ASSET. You guys do a fantastic job. Love, even if I don't participate in these meetings, just listening to you guys and all that y'all are doing for the astronomy community there in Beaumont and the Southeast Texas region. So hats off to you guys as well.
Yeah, and hats off to you as well, Joe. 860 members in a club. That's huge. Like I said, man, I'm looking forward to coming back to a HAS meeting in person.
Yeah.
Shake hands again, getting to see
absolutely
familiar faces, and just having a good time, man. We're heading back in. So
yeah,
light at the end of that tunnel, guys. So thank y'all again for watching. We'll see y'all next month. Remember, the virtual TSP is coming up June 10th, 11th, and 12th. And then the ASSET meeting will be on June 18th. So the third Friday of the month for June for ASSET, this meeting right here. And then we'll probably be back on our regularly scheduled programming for July with an astronaut. So you don't want to miss that. You don't want to be anywhere else but here. So thank y'all for watching. Thank y'all for hanging out with us. And we'll see y'all on the flip side. Take care, guys and gals and everyone. Bye, guys.